So anyone that knows me knows that I do not like shopping. I don't like going to malls. I don't like going to stores. I don't even like going to the grocery store. I have ordered my groceries online and pick it up curbside.
Yeah.
And I've been doing that before COVID. That's just me. But anyway, I was reflecting as to why that is. Why do I not like to shop? And I think it has a lot to do maybe with growing up without a lot of means.
Okay.
That's I starved. Never starved a day in my life, obviously. But I didn't have a lot of excess funds for things. So, for example, I had a pair of brown shoes and I had a pair of black shoes.
Wow.
That was it.
Yep.
And those are just universal colors that can go with just about anything in my closet. The whole idea of like buying a pair of shoes to match like one outfit was like a foreign concept. That was crazy talk to me.
Sure.
And even when I could afford such, I don't know, coordination, luxuries, I'm inclined. I don't even think about doing it because I just looked at what I had and I thought, oh, well, this is enough. This is enough for me to work with.
Okay.
So anyway, that led me to think about last week. Last week, we were talking about the real cost or the true cost of upgrading your lifestyle, whether it's house or car or whatever. And I talked about, the concept or introduced the concept of enough. And I couldn't remember, Ray, when did we first learn about that financial practice or financial concept of enough?
Yeah, I recall just going to a conference in Texas. It was either Workers Worship or Business by the Book, some conference like that, where there was a man who owned a construction company. And for the first time, I heard a person mention that they capped their income.
Right.
So no matter how much revenue he got in 1 year, he would basically say, hey, this is enough for me and my family at this time, and I'm going to give the rest away. And I thought, my mind was blown when I heard that. And I always thought like, man, that is something to strive to. That is something, really admirable that he's doing. I realized that definition or how he approached enough is not a universal definition for everyone. And I guess I also realized at that time, you can do something like that, but enough to me has a layer of contentment with it as well. Where, maybe I'm still striving for some type of goal or some type of purpose, but even if I don't get that, I'm content. I have enough, but that the concept first came, the first time I really heard it was from this, multi-million-dollar construction owner. But then it had me thinking like, say if I did have a number in mind, which was enough, and I'm at work and I got a raise, am I going to say, no, I'm so sorry, I don't need that raise. I have enough at this time, doesn't mean that, and so it really just had me exploring, okay, well, what's enough? Another way this was introduced was 4-Hour Work Week, a book that we just recently talked about on, Instagram. And on their concept, they have the concept of mini retirement, where, you work, you take a mini retirement, you work, you take a mini retirement, but the concept enough comes in where you just work to have enough to, pay your bills, cover your expenses, cover some trips, and then enough to take a mini retirement. So it's not, work, and then at the end retire. So what is that enough concept look like to work for 6 months and then take a break, or work for 12 months and then take a break? So, from that construction worker 4-Hour Work Week, it seems like that enough concept just began to, I guess, take shape. And it's still taking shape. It's still evolving overall. But I guess for you, one question is, you're not wanting to shop. Did that come out of a definition of enough, or did it come out of, lack? Like what was it? Were you content with having, a black pair and a brown pair? And unfortunately, I'm just gonna say this. Every time I hear that, I think of the song Bobos, they make your feet.
Oh, lovely. Thank
Who
you.
cares? That does are
$1.99. Yeah.
things. Was that the song they were saying to you?
Really? Thank you. Thank you so much for pricking my trauma as a child. Yes, I did get clowned on a little bit.
Mine's
But
yours.
are you over it there? Okay, moving on. To answer your question, yes, I think that it is different. It may not have been the concept of enough
Okay.
that is going on what I described. It could have been more so of make do. Like, okay, I'm just gonna make do with what I have.
Sure.
Which I mean I think is sometimes necessary, right? I mean, depending on where you are financially. But yeah, it wasn't like I actually sat down and was like, I'm only going to ever have 2 pairs of shoes. It was like, this is all I can have.
Right.
I'm going to make do. So yeah, I don't think necessarily enough and making do are the same things.
Okay.
You know, I do think enough is more, to your point, is a proactive, voluntary limitation, you know, that you declare on yourself, as opposed to making do is circumstances have limited my abilities and this is what I have to make do with. So those are different. Those are different because it's not self-imposed.
Okay.
But I think that also too, one of the challenges with this concept of enough is when you have a couple. I mean, you have two. When you have a couple and 2 people together as a couple,
Okay.
that what one more person envisions as enough is probably going to be very different than what the other person envisions as enough. And so it's hard enough, I think, to put self-imposed limits on oneself, but then to do it collectively as a couple, and not to mention then if you have kids involved,
right?
Whoa, that can get real touchy really fast if you're self-imposing limits on your kids, not because you can't afford to give them that new game system or those new shoes, new sneakers, whatever, but you're setting limits on them just because, hey, I'm saying this is enough for them.
Right.
I've known of people that have gotten into fights with family members, grandparents, whatever, about this, and almost to a certain degree been accused of like abusing their child, you know what I mean, by setting these limitations.
But if I'm listening to this right now, I would ask 2 questions like why? Why would I set an enough boundary? And then how can I do that when I don't know the future? I don't know if I'm going to get sick. I don't know how much money I'm going to need with inflation or how much possessions that I need. I can't gauge what's excessive. So if somebody says, well, why? Why would I want to do that? Like,
so I'll just speak for myself.
Sure.
What appealed to me about the concept
was
that I felt like it was a way to get from under the bondage of lifestyle.
All right.
And what I mean to say is, up until hearing that concept, I felt like anytime there was an increase in money, whether it's income or a windfall of some sort, that comes in, I would find myself pouring it into lifestyle things, which then added to my overall ongoing costs. So like, got this increase, so maybe I'll up our cable package to include some more premium channels, you know what I mean? Like, maybe I'll get, a new car, you know what I mean? Or maybe even just upgrade my phone service at the time. It was more money, it's more data. I know that's different now, but I'm just saying, like, that's the kind of stuff that I felt like these increases, these promotions or phases, they were going into more lifestyle stuff. And here's the thing, it's like, I'm making more money, you know what I mean? So I can afford it, but now I have this increased expense in my life, you know what I mean? And so with every raise, it's like at some point, like I'm becoming a slave to just lifestyle increases, incrementally.
Yeah.
And so,
Especially if you finance it.
well, that's a whole other topic.
Okay.
Well,
Yeah.
yeah, but you know what I mean? And so it's like by setting a demarcation, a self-imposed, like, hey, this is enough. I'm not a slave to that anymore. Like, this pressure to say, okay, well, hey, I'm making this much money now, so I should have this type of car, or I should have this type of phone, or I should have these type of clothes, or whatever the case may be. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah. So it's just the bondage of not chasing what's next is kind of off the table or decreased. But I would say that's difficult because we live in a world, not that we live in a world, but it's hard to be content when discontentment is all around you, or lack, or even if you didn't come from much, you remember the lack that you had, and now that you have more, it's like, okay, I'm going to try to get more, at this time. So I just remember the story of, that company that moved into a remote village and hired everyone in the remote village as workers. The workers came to work the first week, and then the second week, none of them came to work. And the managers wondered why. They went to the village and they were like, well, we have enough. We worked for a week and we have enough to take care of our village and everyone. So what did the manufacturer do? They began to send catalogs to that village, which sparked a desire for them to want more. And a week later, everybody came back to work because they wanted something new. So that concept of enough, I would imagine another piece of to that is looking at your current possessions and saying, okay, I got a nice car, a decent car, I got a decent house.
Right.
My retirement is being funded. My day-to-day needs is being funded. I have clothes, I have food on the table. And Lord willing, I get to enjoy some luxuries. I have enough. Now, there's always more that you can have. Like if you have, he's in there, I tell you, you got a Lexus, you got a Lexus, you can get, a Mercedes or whatever is next. You got, 1,500 square feet, you can get 2,000 or 2,500. So it's being intentional about setting a cap, like, you know what, I got enough bedrooms, or, this is sufficient for now. Or even asking, I know, I asked why and how, but ask yourself why. Like, and this goes back to the video we had before, like, why do I want more right now? Or, why is that? And then the second question, how do all right, this is enough principle. It sounds, I want to explore this. How do I start? Where do I begin with this? What would you say to a person that asked that question?
Well, I think the first thing to look at is, again, what do I have?
Okay.
Look at what do I already have in terms of assets, in terms of savings, in terms of things that are really critical for life, retirement savings, emergency savings, income for daily, everyday expenses, and then like actual assets, whether it's property or whatever. So looking at what you have, and then asking those critical questions: Is there some quality of life deficiency I'm suffering with just this group of assets that I already had?
Okay.
That needs to be fulfilled by by buying, investing into something else, something to, make my quality of life better. And so if the answer is no, quality of life is fine. And then I think that it's important to look outside of yourself, look at your giving. You're taking care of yourself, you're taking care of your family, great, but what about taking care of your community?
Great question.
Are you regularly giving to some shape, capacity, shape, or form to the community to make it a better place for your neighbors, and I'm fully convicted that giving should be a regular part of my budget. It's a regular part of my financial practice.
Yeah.
And so again, looking at that to say, hey, is there something I'm being drawn to? I feel like maybe God is putting on my heart to give to, and I have been giving. Okay, putting money towards that.
Yeah.
And And then I think, you can go even further out. So now it's not just giving to, my immediate community and my immediate neighbors, but is there something maybe on a grander scheme, a bigger scheme, maybe on a global level that I should be helping to fund, helping to support financially.
Yeah.
And again, pouring the overflow of income that you don't need into that. So I think it starts from, like I said, the inside out. I think you got to start with your own household, making sure that that's in place, and that everything that you need, your family needs, is being funded and properly taken care of, and then working your way outward.
No, that makes a lot of sense. And so we'll put it back to you. What do you think about the concept of enough? Let us know in the comments. Does it seem crazy? Is it something that you want to explore? And also, please continue to follow us at Naked and Rich, share this content with others, because we want to keep the conversation going.